Welcome, everybody, to our fourth week. So, by the end of this week, we have our second essay, our descriptive essay due. That means that, pardon me, let me get the focus here. That means by probably the middle, by the end of this week, so we're talking about something like Wednesday to Friday, I will have had your narratives all returned to you. I have about a third of them, maybe a little more than a third of them returned to you now, to a third of the class. So the rest of those you could expect probably by the first half of the week, certainly before the weekend. So you will have had, by the very least, a couple of days to kind of digest the comments that I made on your narratives, which so far are pretty good. I think the 6 that I have graded so far have averaged out to an 89, which is a high B, which is, according to what a B means, at least in this class, good to great. I think great is pretty darn good. Okay. So that is what we have in the can so far. So grades coming back to you guys this week, suffice it to say. After your narratives, time allowing, by the end of the week, your SCC exercise and your reader exercises on Goodbye to My Twinkie Days and Once More to the Lake. Those probably more likely to come back next week, if I'm being honest with you. So let's talk about your descriptive. So the narrative, the focus there, first of all, it was supposed to be a story, an account of something that happened. And some of you guys, from what I understand, did fictionalized stories, if you will. And as long as there is a degree of what we call verisimilitude, some kind of as long as it seems that it's true, let's simplify it, and reads true or true enough, there are people, places, it has the semblance of life, the goings on of life in some way, then I'm none the wiser if you made something up. It reads like a believable story. As far as I'm concerned, it's a story, okay? So that's pardon me, my little anchor here got a little out of my hand, so delicate balancing act with this thing. Forgive me. So that's at the minimum that you guys do a story, but the real focus here, if you really wanted to make sure your T's were crossed and your I's dotted, was to focus on a meaningful event. So not a sweeping account of your entire life, a moment. And not only a moment, but a moment rendered by the senses that comes to life. So tastes and textures and sights and sounds, all of that should be propelling the story into life, okay? The ones that I've graded so far have pieces of that, some to better degrees over others, and some were just kind of broad, sweeping summaries. So there explains the high B instead of an A. But by and large, the narratives have been pretty solid. Okay, so we look forward to those continuing in that fashion for the remaining 2/3 of them I have yet to grade. So for the descriptive, it's not necessarily a story you are telling. Our focus here isn't narration, isn't relaying or conveying something that happened, although it can be. You can tell a story. In our examples from the reader, Goodbye to My Twinkie Days, especially the E.B. White example, Once More to the Lake, which is probably one of my, if not my favorite piece that we read in 1101. It's just so rich and beautiful, and the theme of timelessness and the idea of family and fathers and sons and places having kind of a magic to them really speak to me as a reader. I just think it's beautiful. And of course, E.B. White, writer of Charlotte's Web and Stuart Little. So E.B. White does relay an event. He does tell a story in a sense. But he makes the place, this retreat, this vacation spot, come to life. So I would say he's focusing on a place, okay? You guys similarly can focus on a place, a person, a thing, or an idea. And I have this in the announcement for this week. So a place, perhaps your favorite vacation destination, your favorite camping spot, your favorite fishing hole or hunting spot, whatever it might be. A person, say your grandmother, grandparent, sister, brother, boyfriend, girlfriend, whoever it may be. A thing, it could be an inanimate thing, like your game console, okay? Or an idea, like a concept. Love, for example, or fear, for example. Okay, these things can be described. They could be described to the degree that they pop off the page. Think of it this way. You guys should be making a word, what I call a word picture. I think that's a good term or phrase there. A word picture. Whatever your focus is, your person, place, thing, or idea, make sure that it comes to life. And again, using the senses is really going to come in handy, or is really necessary, more than just coming in handy this time. We should have, if it's relevant or not, if it's necessary, tastes or smells or sounds or sights or textures. The five senses come into play here, certainly. Okay, you just don't have to do it as a story. Okay, it can be a story. It's a different in focus and emphasis here. Our emphasis and focus on our first essay was an account, was a story. In this case, it is description. Okay, so just make sure that that's the lens through which we are evaluating our subject, whatever it is, that person, place, thing, or idea. Okay, so that is that. That's all we have this week in terms of an actual assignment. The blog is reopened this week. So if you guys want to contribute and have anything to say about past readings or exercises, the first essay, here's your chance to contribute, and you will receive bonus points on your final essay, the research essay, at the end of the 1101 half. And don't forget, too, guys, last week I posted what's called an SLO. What that means is student learning outcome. So the department makes instructors give you all a little assessment to kind of gauge how well you all know how to cite sources in MLA, how well you structure and pose your thesis and defend it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the example they give there is a little piece on whether you are a fox or a hedgehog, I believe is the title in some fashion. So you have to do that. You have to read that piece that's given to you in the attachment, which is now up in Blackboard, and follow the instructions and give your response to it by the end of the 1101 half. So we're talking something like early to mid-March. Okay, it's better that you get on it sooner rather than later. We're going to count it as a class homework assignment. It is mandatory, though. Okay, you have to do it, and I have to report the data back to the English department. Okay, so just want to remind you guys of that. So SLO due at the end of the half, your descriptive due by the end of the week, Sunday the 3rd. Blog is reopened all week. Narratives will be back to you sometime between Wednesday and Friday of this week. And your SEC is due for descriptive by what I consider today, as it is Sunday, the 27th, as of the recording of this video. And then on Wednesday, your reader exercises from last week on the E.B. White and Goodbye to My Twinkie Days, Bic Min Nguyen. So those are due, those responses are due by this Wednesday. So grades coming back to you this week, folks. Descriptive due at the end of the week. Any questions, any draft checks? Again, it's always good to do that in the first half of the week. Miss Evans is there too as a help. I understand that she shared a draft with you all of an example of hers last week. So do take her advice and guidance as well, of course. So that is all I have to say. And you all do me a favor and have a great week. Sorry for the interference with the camera slipping down a couple of times. I was trying to prop it up as best I could. I'm not in my usual shooting location, if you will, in my office. I'm in the kitchen down here. My wife has to use the office for some work today as well. So please forgive me about those little interruptions. Anywho, have a great week, and I'll be seeing you. Bye.